Today, our discussion is about America's most important natural resource. And instead of just telling you what it is, I'm going to give you a riddle and give you an opportunity to figure out what it is. This particular natural resource, every country has it. Some of us have it in greater quantities than others, and some of us respect this resource and care for it more than others. But nonetheless, absolutely every country on this planet has this resource. I'd like you to jot what you think it is in the comments below, and then I'll meet you on the other side and we'll talk about what it is. All right, how many of you are thinking trees? Ha, no, it's not trees, it's people. Our people are our most important natural resource. And here in the United States, we do not do enough to take care of the people. Our health care is the most expensive in the world, and we have millions and millions and millions of people uninsured. And they're cutting research on medical care and lots of things that are not really helpful to the people. But today, I want to talk to you about the Trump administration's attack on education. Because their attack on education is an attack on the people. Just recently, the Trump administration signed some executive order that doesn't really close the department, because he doesn't have the legal right to do it, which I guess that hasn't been really stopping him, has it? It does something to basically effectively close the whole department. Yay, us. Now, I also sit there and I think, looking at this picture, how would you like to be the president who's caught holding this thing saying, I'm taking away education from the people in my country? In the future, people are going to look back on this and go, OMG. I did recently listen to a psychologist, and I'll put the link to that video down below, that basically claimed that Trump thrives off of embarrassment because that's what his father used to do to him.
I think we can make some predictions about the future. I think that what we can see here is that actually what he's used to is creating conflict. What he's used to is being the subject of attention, usually negative attention. What he's used to is almost being humiliated. And it's almost as if he's prepared to be humiliated in order to gain more attention. He's happy to exchange respect for attention at any time. This is actually a quality that is shared by autocrats. It tends to be something that dictators often have.
It's really a sick cycle that we're also trapped into with this abusive president. But I digress. Back to the education. I've caught wind of a few Trump supporters actually supporting this, that this is something that the states should handle. Okay, it's working out really well for the whole abortion thing. During the Civil War, we basically agreed as a nation, at least those of us who were reasonable and didn't think people should be enslaved, decided that the state rights should stop at human rights, that the federal government will be better at determining human rights. It seems, though, that 70 million Americans who voted in a racist are seeing it a little differently. If we put education back to the states, and if they, the federal government, continues to collect the same amount in taxes from us, and now the states, though, have to pay for all these services that the federal government just stopped paying for, even though most of us didn't vote for that. Don't we then have to pay more taxes to the state? So, we're paying double taxes then for the same service. This doesn't sound like a good deal. Does this sound like a good deal to you? I don't like this deal. That's why my senators and my representative are against this. And they actually funded the Department of Education in the last real budget bill that the Trump administration is ignoring and that the Republicans are not enforcing. Which brings me to this fine and mighty point. When will the blue states stop participating? We got a lot more money than they do. All those red states, the blue states usually support. We've been happy to do it until you started to take our democracy away. And I'm wondering, and maybe you know, can the blue states just stop paying the federal government? Is this a thing? I know a number of the blue states started shoring things up to make sure that they could protect the residents in their states to the greatest degree possible. Which brings me to Columbia University. In the Atlantic today, they had a really witty article entitled, "Please Don't Appease." Yeah, I like it. Essentially what this article said to Columbia University is, do not appease the Trump administration. Do not let them hold you hostage, and do not concede to this $400 million blackmailing scheme. Because that's what it is. You do what we say or we withhold the money. That's extortion. That's corrupt. This is what we're now faced with. Two thoughts about Columbia. I watched a really good YouTube video last night with a woman named Kathleen Franke, who I believe is a professor of law at Columbia. And she was talking about a number of the things going on there, including ICE's illegal arrest of Mohammed Khalil on their premises. There was also very interesting information in there about who he is and what was really going on. I put the link for that in the doobly-doo. I won't be able to show you all of the information.
I want to talk about the case of Mahmoud Khalil, and we're going to play that little clip that his wife made during his arrest. It's quite chilling. It looks like something out of, Stalinist Russia, frankly. So let's watch this clip.
To be under arrest. So turn around.
Okay,
Stop resisting.
Okay, he's not resisting. He's giving me his phone, okay? He's not, I understand, he's not resisting.
Put your arm
Like,
there's no need for this. Don't worry about it. You're going to have to come with us. Don't worry. I'm coming with you. Don't worry.
No one's resisting. No one's getting worked up.
you guys really don't need to be doing all of that.
That's it.
حبيبي كيف بدي اتصل فيك؟
Take Amy. Call Amy.
Okay. Hi, Amy. Yeah, they just like handcuffed him and took him. I don't know what to do. Okay. Then what should I do? I don't know. Nor. Let me ask. Can we get a name, please? Can we get your name? I understand the lawyer is asking for your name.
Over there. No, we don't give our name.
The lawyer's asking for your name. He's saying they don't give their names.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We'll be taken to immigration custody at 26 Federal Plaza.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
We'll be taken to immigration custody at 26 Federal Plaza.
She said they're taking him to 26 Federal Plaza. Can you please specify what agency is taking him, please? Excuse me. They're not talking to me. I don't know. I don't know. Excuse me. The lawyer would like to speak to somebody. Oh my God, they're literally running away from me.
Talk about the importance of the Khalil case. I mean, I see it as, I'm sure you do too, extremely ominous.
It's ominous, and for all of us. You know, they're using immigration laws now to come after protesters or people who are voicing views that are critical of the Trump administration, who are not U.S. citizens. They'll come next for us, the U.S. citizens, with the criminal law. So, you know, just watch this. It will roll out in a very similar way for others of us who are not vulnerable to immigration enforcement, but that's what the criminal law will be used for. Mahmoud Khalil, I have known for over a year. I've worked with him here at Columbia. He was basically chosen by the Columbia administration to be the mediator between the student protesters who had an encampment here on our campus and the administration itself, and then later with the police. And Mahmoud had a cool head. He was reasonable. Both sides or all sides respected him. He was chosen for a reason to play that role, and Columbia trusted him. They relied on him to communicate back and forth with those protesters. And at some point, he emails me and he says, I've been served with disciplinary charges. And I said, what for? And he said, for Instagram posts that I did not make and an account I have no control over. So I was his advisor in this disciplinary process, and we presented all this information that, whatever you might think about what those posts were, which is a separate issue, he had nothing to do with it. And they would not dismiss the cases. They would not dismiss the case, even though it was quite clear that he had nothing to do with the issue that he was charged with. And in effect, what Columbia did is put a target on his back, because it fed this machine that we have these people here, students at Columbia, who are biased in certain ways and are saying outrageous stuff when the university knows it's not true. So I hold certainly the federal government responsible here for not following the law properly in his detention and abduction, but I hold Columbia responsible as well. They've created this environment through these unreasonable and false charges, and won't dismiss them when they know that they're false.
Well, let's talk about Columbia. So even before the encampment was set up in the Quad, Columbia banned Jewish Voice for Peace and Students for Justice in Palestine. You saw an assault or an attack, a rhetorical assault on colleges as being breeding grounds for Hamas or Hamas ideology. This was all before the protests began. Columbia probably reacted with more ferocity than probably any other university in the country. Over 100 students were arrested. The president, who was, of course, grilled by Stefanik and she and the other presidents didn't grovel enough. She was pushed out along with the president of the University of Pennsylvania. They called the police onto the campus 3 times. Students were injured. The incident that you spoke out about, these were, I believe, former IDF soldiers who attacked students because there's a relationship with Tel Aviv University and Columbia. So these were people who had served in the military, very likely in Gaza in that operation. They attacked students. Some of them were hospitalized. Columbia bent over backwards, in essence, to cater to its critics, and then it lost $400 million in grants anyway. I want to talk about Columbia's response to outside pressure and what's happening, because this is clearly more than I don't think it has anything to do with anti-Semitism. It's really an attempt to destroy one of the pillars of an open society, which are universities.
Well, that's all true. And I would say that it's not just attacks from outside. These attacks were inside as well. Part of why I think Columbia was such an easy target, and it's not just Columbia, I think this is true for Harvard, for Yale, for the elite universities, is that the boards of trustees are no longer made up of people who are involved in education, committed to the educational mission, in some way, professionally or otherwise, see themselves as custodians of the special role that the academy plays in a democracy. Instead, they are hedge fund managers, venture capitalists, corporate lawyers, and in our case, arms manufacturers as well. And they see their responsibility is to protect only the endowment. I often describe Columbia, which is the largest residential landlord in New York City, as a real estate holding operation that has a side hustle of teaching classes, right? It has evolved over time into just a business that enjoys nonprofit status. And so when the pressure started here, there were no voices on the boards of trustees to say, hey, wait a minute, we have to be the front line of resistance, or at a minimum, we have to defend our academic mission. When I was sitting in my living room watching President Minouche Shafik testify before that House committee that you referenced, Chris, I was upset because they mentioned me, but more importantly, the fact that President Shafik did not even begin to defend Columbia, its faculty, its students, our project, our history of being one of the premier universities in the world. Instead, she groveled before a bully. And we all know that when you grovel before a bully, it encourages the bully. And that's exactly what's happened here up until today, where they're still negotiating with the Trump administration on terms that the administration has set. And this university, I think, will never be the same if it survives at all.
The board of directors is mostly business people from the area, and they don't really care about the educational standards. They just want controversy to go away and to keep the college or the university profitable. This isn't what education is supposed to be about. Universities and colleges are supposed to be places of free thought so that we can advance our society, so that our most important natural resource as a nation can be developed and refined and sharpened and bettered. That happens in diverse environments where we allow free speech and we allow people to sometimes say things that we might disagree with, but we allow them to do it with respect. Certainly, there's things that everyone everywhere could improve. But I thought this Republican Party stood for freedom. I thought they knew what that flag meant. This administration is taking away our liberties, our rights, our safety, and our ability to become better people. It's not okay. And I'm not quite sure why they do this. An educated population is a good and healthy thing for any nation. And this is the thing that I keep coming back to. The Trump recession? The whole putting on tariffs? Trying to bring back manufacturing jobs? Well, you don't need to be highly educated for a manufacturing job, do you? I think they just want to make us a lemming workforce. I'm not sure when the Republican Party turned its back on freedom, these matters will only get worse. Now I'm hoping more and more Trump supporters, their lights come on. But right now, we need our elected officials who really know and understand what is going on to be more reactionary to this. Tomorrow morning, I am sending out emails again to my elected representatives, but I also am no stranger to just letting anybody up there know what I think they should be doing, because this is wrong. I'm not paying my taxes to a government that does not take care of its people. Plain and simple, and neither should you. None of us should. And lately I've actually been wondering, are they just taking money right out of the coffers? Because that wouldn't surprise me either. So, if you, like me, think that our most important resource, being our people, is fundamentally super important, let's get involved and start turning this around. If you'd like to know more about that lovely little Trump recession, click and I'll meet you there. See you soon.